The morning our village was cut off. People in Pine Creek Village measured time differently than people in the city. We didn't wake up to traffic horns or subway trains. We woke up to the sound of roosters crowing across the valley, tractors starting before sunrise, and the distant rumble of cattle moving through open pastures. Life was simple. Predictable. Everyone knew everyone. If your truck broke down, 5 neighbors would stop before you even reached for your phone. If someone's barn caught fire, the entire village showed up with buckets before the volunteer fire department arrived. That's how Pine Creek had always been. Until Karen Mitchell arrived. My name is Ryan Carter, and I had served as sheriff of Mason County for almost 14 years. Before that I spent 8 years as a deputy. I thought I'd seen every kind of trouble a small rural county could produce. Cattle thieves. Illegal hunters. Flood rescues. Wildfires. Even a runaway bull that wandered into the town diner one summer. But nothing prepared me for the woman who believed an HOA could control an entire village. The call came at exactly 5:41 a.m. The ringtone cut through the quiet darkness beside my bed. I reached for the phone without opening my eyes. Sheriff Carter. A shaky voice answered. Ryan, it's Ben Harrison. Ben owned the oldest general store in Pine Creek. He was 72 years old and had lived there longer than anyone else. I immediately knew something was wrong. Ben never called before sunrise. What's happened? You need to get down to the bridge. What bridge? Our bridge. I sat up. The one over Miller River. Yes. What about it? Ben was silent for a second. Then he said something I'll never forget. They've locked us in. For a moment I honestly thought I'd misheard him. What? The bridge. It's chained shut. I threw the blankets aside. Who chained it? Another pause. Karen. I was fully awake now. What do you mean, Karen? Karen Mitchell. The HOA President. She says nobody crosses without permission. I looked at the clock. 5:43. School buses would begin their morning routes in less than 45 minutes. Milk trucks would arrive. Farmers would start hauling livestock. The volunteer ambulance crew changed shifts at 6:30. Everything depended on that bridge. Everything. I'll be there in 10 minutes. The October air was cold enough to fog the windshield as I drove toward the river. Morning mist floated over the fields. Cows grazed quietly behind old wooden fences. The rising sun painted the hills gold. Normally the drive relaxed me. That morning something felt wrong. Very wrong. Even before I reached the bridge I noticed vehicles backed up along County Road 12. Pickup trucks. Horse trailers. 2 school buses. A propane delivery truck. Nearly 30 vehicles sat completely still. Drivers stood outside talking nervously. Some pointed toward the bridge. Others simply stared. I parked my patrol truck on the shoulder and walked forward. Then I saw it. A brand new steel security gate stretched across the entrance to the bridge. Heavy chains wrapped around both posts. A massive industrial padlock secured everything. Bolted to the middle of the gate was a professionally printed white sign. Private community access. Authorized HOA members only. No entry without written approval. I couldn't believe, standing beside the gate, wearing a bright red jacket and holding a clipboard like she owned the county, was Karen Mitchell. She smiled the moment she saw me. Good morning, Sheriff. I looked from her to the gate. What exactly is this? Our new security entrance. You chained shut the only bridge into Pine Creek. Karen nodded proudly. Exactly. Why? Traffic control. Ist hier. Traffic control. I glanced behind me. A dairy farmer leaned against his truck waiting to deliver fresh milk. Behind him sat 2 school buses filled with children. Behind them was the volunteer ambulance. Karen followed my eyes. They'll have to wait. I took one slow step toward her. Karen. Open the gate. She smiled politely. I'm afraid I can't. You can't. No. Why not? Because the HOA voted for this. I blinked. The HOA. Yes. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because I honestly couldn't believe what I was hearing. Karen. The HOA doesn't own this bridge. She flipped open her binder. According to our neighborhood bylaws. I interrupted her. I don't care what your bylaws say. This bridge belongs to Mason County. She shook her head confidently. The entrance is adjacent to HOA property, which gives us authority. Behind me I heard several farmers begin laughing. One of them shouted, "She's lost her mind." Karen ignored him. Instead she pointed toward a freshly poured concrete base beside the bridge. We paid for that gate ourselves. I walked over and looked closer. She wasn't lying. Someone had actually installed steel posts overnight. Fresh concrete still surrounded the base. Whoever did the work had spent hours there. I suddenly realized this wasn't an impulsive decision. Karen had planned this. 4 days. Maybe weeks. She looked directly at me. "So, Sheriff, if you don't live inside the HOA, you'll need written permission to enter." Silence spread across the crowd. Then one of the school bus drivers stepped forward. "Mum, I have 23 children on this bus." Karen didn't even look at him. "Not my problem." The driver looked stunned. Before anyone could respond, a siren echoed across the valley. The volunteer ambulance had received an emergency dispatch. Everyone turned toward the flashing lights. The driver pulled to the front of the line. He rolled down his window. "Sheriff, we have a heart attack call on Miller Farm." I looked back at Karen. "This ambulance needs a cross." She folded her arms. "The gate stays closed." At that exact moment, I realized this wasn't just an HOA dispute anymore. Someone's life now depended on getting across that bridge. And Karen still refused to move.